This video is video 3 on the subject of emotional intelligence. In this particular video, I will be discussing the importance of emotional intelligence, why it is so significant for you in your life and in your relationships, whether they're personal or business. I'm going to be going over 3 keys that should highlight why it is significantly more important to have emotional intelligence than not to have it. And then I'll be going over approximately five reasons or 5 things that happen by default if we are not in a place of being emotional intelligent. This message is very, very important because it's critical to understand, that there will be emotional or there will be events that take place around us throughout a day, throughout a week. Some things are going to be based upon other people. Some things are going to be based upon something that someone says, some place that we go. And all of these different events, there's going to be an emotional reaction that we're going to have if we're not in a place where we're healed enough from something that maybe happened in our past. Because a lot of times when we are triggered, the triggering is as a result of something that happened in our past, that when someone does something, it reactivates that memory, because that emotional response that we had initially from their initial response, if it was never dealt with, we're going to have another response from that. So emotional intelligence is going to teach us how to handle, first of all, to identify. So when I talked about self-awareness, that self-awareness is part of us getting to a place of being aware of where I am emotionally at any given time, at any given moment. And so why is that important? Because there will be triggering events that take place, whether it's someone cuts in front of you in line, in a store, whether it's somebody says something about a topic. Like there's a big trigger right now in society where anybody that's talking about politics, or anybody that's talking about religion, or anybody that's talking about certain sporting events. There's so many triggers within society. So if you talk about a lot of different topics, people are going to automatically be offended, and they're going to be offended because they have such a strong stance that or belief that they have concerning where they should stand concerning whatever that issue is. So that they're going to be triggered, and that triggering is going to cause an emotional response to happen within the individual, within their body, within their energy. So the thing is, my point is, and I'll get to that. Let me stay focused. Second thing is, once you can identify where you are emotionally, which is what we talked about with self-awareness, then the next thing is that we have to be able to regulate or monitor ourselves. This is where the self-regulation comes in, which is the second video I made. And in the video on self-regulation, I talked in detail about different techniques that you can do to regulate the way that you handle certain events that take place, because the identification process is step number 1. Once I identify what it is that triggered me, what is the origin of that? Where did that originate? Because to me, you have to do a deep dive, and I don't want to go over everything I went over in video 1. So go watch video 1 on the triggers. But you have to, if you want to get past this thing and grow and learn, it's a process of doing a deep dive and actually asking myself the hard questions of, okay, why did this thing trigger me? What is the origin of this? Where did this originate from? And because when I can get to a place of understanding what is the origin of it, then I can go to the second step of what we talked about, was the regulating, being able to monitor and regulate my emotions. And I talked about a breathing technique that you can do. It's called box breathing. That's one of the ways that you can start learning how to do it. Working out, because the thing is, you want to get yourself in a place where you're operating from more of a balanced energy place. And one of the reasons why emotional intelligence is so important, because if you are getting in relationships with any person, and that individual is not a person that knows how to regulate their emotions, that they stay consistent, that you can consistently count on them being the way that they always are. That if a problem pops up, then they're either going to be high or low, or if they're having good times or they made some money, then they're high. And then if they have some problem that comes up, then they're in the lows of lows. And so you'll spend all of your time trying to help them get to a place emotionally that if they haven't done the work, it's going to make it difficult and challenging in that relationship, because it's going to be a constant seesaw of emotions, always an up and down. And so if you're investing your heart or investing into that individual, you're investing into a space that's not really safe, because the person isn't consistent. They're inconsistently inconsistent, but they're not consistently consistent. They're not consistent in that neutral place where you can count on them, where it's a safe space where I can give you my heart, or I can invest my heart to you. So the three keys. So I'm going to go the three keys that are important of why you should consider emotional intelligence. The first key is that you will make better decisions, because better decisions will be made based upon the fact that you won't be making decisions strictly based upon your emotion, strictly based upon what you're feeling in that moment. So that means that if you're, again, I got to go based upon relationship. If you're in a relationship with an individual, you're not going to be an emotional buyer. You're not going to be someone that's emotional gambler. You're not going to be someone that's an emotional whatever. I mean, we can use any number of examples. But when we are in our emotion, when we do things, if we're doing it based strictly upon emotion, overall, we are going to make a bad decision. Because part of making an intelligent decision or a wise decision is gathering all of the information, counting up the costs, what are the pros and cons, seeing if this is something that's feasible or something that should be done within that moment. Key number two is you'll gain back your personal power. When we're in a place where we're not operating, in emotional intelligence, then we'll end up being victims. And I'm going to talk about that in the next part. But you're going to gain back your personal power, because you're no longer going to be sitting back, but you're going to start understanding the power that you have within yourself, and you're going to be building up your beliefs, because you're going to know where you are from an intellectual and as well as an emotional place. Number three, you will have developed the ability to be more proactive than reactive. This is the third benefit of you looking at why you should consider being emotionally intelligent. You're going to be proactive. So if you're proactive, that means that you're making the approach. You're actively going out and pursuing and doing the things that you need to do within your life that can get you better, instead of being reactive and counteractive, right? And so when you look at this, there's probably 4 or 5. I'm gonna go over 4 real quick. 4 negative things that happen when we are not in a place of being emotional intelligent. And one of the first keys with that is that we'll be constantly triggered. And I kind of mentioned that earlier on, but we'll be constantly in a place of triggered. And I'm using the word triggered, but I would ask you to consider that, use it. I always say that, put it on a sliding scale, so to speak. So what I'm saying is that on this sliding scale would be like from 1 to 10. With all of us, there are things probably that are going to irritate us, aggravate us, trigger us, whatever. If you're a person that's highly offended by everything that someone says, you're highly sensitive, people can't joke with you, everything offends you, then you're probably a person that you're in a place where there's some things within you, within me, you, or whomever, that probably have to be dealt with. Because, if we're not living life from such a miserable, guarded place, because a lot of the things that we don't accept or we can't really hear, or it's because of different blocks and different guardedness within us. So if we're coming from a place of being constantly triggered, that means that there's things that have to change. That's all it means. And the triggering, again, all it is it's bringing an awareness to something, because it's something from the outside that's being presented to us. And just because it's being presented, that does not mean that I need to react, or I need to say something, or I need to act a certain way. And this is why I used the example, and I believe in one of the other videos about, you'll see a lot of these women that they're calling Karens in these malls and in these stores and all these different places. And I try not to call people by names, and I'm just using that name as an example. But the point that I want to say is that, if you really look at these individuals, they're in a very, it's like they have a battle that's going on within their own mind. They're not at a place of peace. So them being in public and someone saying something, or something going on, or something that they feel is not right, they're saying things about it. And then it doesn't help them by saying anything about it, because the person that they're generally talking to, they're not going to listen to, because I'm an adult just like you are. Why would I listen to you? I'm going to do whatever I want to do. But the thing is, with all of this is, as we grow and we evolve, we're not going to be so affected. If that's another word I can use, we're not going to be so affected by other people and what they believe and what they do and what they think. Second thing is, and I just mentioned it, we are in a place of being controlled, as long as we're in the place of not seeing a lot of times if we're not in the place of seeing the importance of emotional intelligence, we will be easily controlled. Because again, it goes back to the triggering. Anything that's said, any little action that's done, and then when people find out that they can do that, then it ties into the third thing is that you will be easily manipulated by others. Because when they can find out that they see a soft spot within you, a spot within you that is a weakness or a spot that needs to be worked on. If they're the type of person that is a deceptive person, which there's tons of them in society. So you're gonna meet them. They're all over the place and they're disguised. You know how they're disguised because they wear shoes, or maybe they wear Crocs, or maybe they're on the beach. They're all over the place. They wear 2-piece, 3-piece suits, and they wear Kangos, and they wear anything that you can think of. They wear Jordans. They're just walking around, normal people that you would think, but deep down inside, they're disturbed. They have a disturbed mindset. And then fourth thing, if you decide not to go down this path of understanding emotional intelligence and going through your process of healing and doing the things it takes, this is why you got to go back and watch video 1 and video 2. And this is just basically, this video is a recap of those 2 videos with some added extra points to drive home and show individuals why it is so important to make this move. If you decide to no longer be or decide to take on this task of emotional intelligence and learning the things that you need, you being a victim will no longer be acceptable. Just like you being triggered will no longer be acceptable. You being controlled will no longer be acceptable. You being manipulated will no longer be acceptable. Because why? Because it's like the things I just mentioned before. You're taking back your personal power. You're no longer allowing people, places, and things to dictate how you're going to feel, how you're going to act, what you're going to do, what you're not going to do, because you're living from a place of freedom, because you're not allowing all these other things that are going on around you to affect you and to harm you and to hurt you. And if I could give you one affirmation as we close this, and I'm going to read this to you real quick. It says, I'm grateful and thankful because of what has happened to me, but it actually has happened for me. So this is basically the affirmation that I was saying. I am grateful and I am thankful for the things that have happened to me, but also because I understand that it didn't happen to me, but it happened for me. That's the thing that I would end with. And like I always say, I believe in you guys. So like, subscribe, share this video, hit the bell, hit the star, follow the page, I'll do all those good things, because this will be on all the social medias. I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you for tuning in. Like I always say, I believe in you, but you got to believe in yourself. Thanks a lot. Talk to you soon.